See, ladies, let me explain something to you. When a man is secretly into you, but he's acting just friendly, that ain't confusion, that's caution. Men don't get confused about what they like. We get scared about what we could lose. There's a difference. A man who likes you will always create consistent presence, and that right there is the first sign you need to understand. See, when a man is secretly into you but acts friendly, he may control his words, but he cannot control his consistency. A man doesn't accidentally keep showing up. He doesn't randomly check in day after day. He doesn't just magically appear whenever you need something unless there is intention behind it. Men are intentional creatures. We go where we see value and we stay where we feel something. If he's texting you good morning just because, if he's sending you memes he thinks you'll like, if he's calling you for small reasons that could have been a quick message, that's presence. And presence is investment. A man who doesn't care will disappear without explanation. He won't maintain steady communication. He won't prioritize access to you. Consistency takes effort, and effort is never free. Now let me explain something deeper. When a man keeps himself in your orbit, that's strategic. He wants to stay relevant in your world. Even if he hasn't made a romantic move, he's positioning himself. He's making sure you think about him. He's making sure his absence would be noticed. Because when a man likes you, the last thing he wants is to become forgettable. Consistency also shows up in physical presence. Does he find reasons to be where you are? Same events, same spaces, same group gatherings. That's not coincidence. That's calculation. A man will adjust his schedule for a woman he likes. He might say, "Oh, I was already in the area, but trust me, that route got adjusted." Men don't rearrange convenience for just anybody, and pay attention to the quality of his presence. Is he attentive when you speak? Does he put his phone down? Does he lean in? Does he ask follow-up questions? That's not surface level friendliness. That's someone trying to understand you. A man who is just being polite will nod and move on. A man who is secretly into you studies you. Consistency also means emotional reliability. When you're stressed, he's there. When you're excited, he celebrates with you. When you're quiet, he notices. He may not label it as care, but his behavior will reveal attachment. Men don't emotionally invest in women they see as just friends unless there's deeper interest growing underneath. And here's something most women overlook. Time is a man's most valuable currency. If he consistently gives you his time, especially when he's busy, that's significant. Men protect their time. If he's carving out space in his day to talk to you, to see you, to help you, to listen to you, that's priority behavior. You don't prioritize what doesn't matter. Now, some men hide behind humor. They tease you, they joke, they keep it light. But even in that lightness, the consistency is still there. He doesn't disappear for weeks. He doesn't treat you like an afterthought. He maintains connection, and maintenance requires intention. Let me tell you something else. If he's consistently supportive of your goals, your dreams, your growth, that's not random either. A man who sees you long term will encourage you. He wants to be part of your journey. Even if he hasn't admitted his feelings, he's already investing in your future. So when you're trying to figure out if he's secretly into you, don't just listen to what he says. Watch what he repeats, because repetition reveals desire. If he keeps choosing you over and over in small ways, that's not friendship by accident. That's a man quietly showing you that you matter. Friendly behavior often hides fear of rejection, and that's something a lot of women misunderstand. When a man acts like your buddy, laughs with you, keeps things light, and never crosses that obvious romantic line, it doesn't always mean he doesn't feel anything. Sometimes it means he feels too much and doesn't want to lose control of the situation. See, men are wired to pursue, but we're also wired to protect our ego. Rejection hits a man's pride differently. It's not just, she said no. In his mind, it's, I misread this. I wasn't enough. And some men would rather stay safely in your friend zone than risk finding that out. So he chooses comfort over courage. He tells himself, at least I get to be around her. That way, he still has access. He still gets your smile, your conversations, your presence. If he confesses and you don't feel the same way, he risks losing all of that. And to him, losing access to you completely feels worse than settling for partial access. So he plays the long game. He convinces himself he's fine being just friends, even though his feelings are sitting right beneath the surface. That friendly energy is often a shield. He'll tease you instead of complimenting you too deeply. He'll joke instead of expressing vulnerability. He'll downplay his interest by talking about other women just to throw you off the trail. It's not because he doesn't care. It's because he's testing the temperature. He's trying to see if there's any sign you might feel the same without putting himself fully on the line. And let me tell you something about men. We calculate risk. If he thinks there's a high chance you'll reject him, he'll hesitate. Maybe you seem out of his league. Maybe you've mentioned other guys. Maybe you carry yourself with confidence that intimidates him. When a man feels unsure about his position, he retreats into safety. Friendly is safe. Friendly doesn't expose him. Friendly allows him to deny everything if things get awkward. Sometimes his fear isn't even about rejection alone. It's about timing. Maybe he's building his career. Maybe he's not where he wants to be financially. Maybe he doesn't feel ready to offer you what he believes you deserve. A lot of men tie their worth to their ability to provide or lead. If he feels incomplete, he might delay stepping forward, even if his heart is already there. So he stays close but undefined. Watch how he reacts when you bring up dating. If he suddenly goes quiet, changes the subject, or asks subtle questions about the guy, that's not indifference. That's internal conflict. He wants to say something, but he's fighting himself. Fear makes a man passive. It keeps him smiling on the outside while wrestling on the inside. And here's the real truth. A man who is truly not interested won't struggle like that. He won't overthink his words. He won't analyze your reactions. He won't worry about how he appears around you. Fear only shows up where feelings exist. If he's cautious, careful, and slightly guarded around you, it's often because he cares more than he's willing to admit. So when a man acts friendly but you sense something deeper, don't automatically assume there's nothing there. Sometimes that friendliness is just armor. And behind that armor is a man trying to gather enough courage to risk hearing either the best answer of his life or the one that bruises his pride. Watch his actions when you're not looking, because that's where the real truth lies. A man can control his words when you're face to face. He can measure his tone, choose safe responses, keep everything balanced so he doesn't reveal too much. But what he does when he thinks you're not paying attention, that's instinct. And an instinct doesn't lie. Pay attention to how he looks at you when you're distracted, when you're laughing with someone else, when you're focused on your phone, when you're talking in a group and not directly engaging him. Does his gaze linger a little longer than normal? Does he watch you like he's studying you? Attraction shows up in observation. A man who's secretly into you will admire you quietly. He'll take mental pictures. He'll notice details about your expressions, your gestures, the way you react to things. Now, let's talk about his behavior in a room full of people. If he's just friendly, he should treat you like everybody else. But does he? Or does his energy subtly shift when you enter? Maybe he straightens up. Maybe his voice changes. Maybe he positions himself closer to you without making it obvious. Men gravitate toward what they're drawn to. Even unconsciously, his body will orient itself toward you. Another thing you need to observe is how he talks about you to other people. When your name comes up and you're not around, does his tone soften? Does he defend you if someone criticizes you? A man who cares will protect your image even in your absence. That's loyalty forming before a title is even given. If he wasn't emotionally invested, he wouldn't feel the need to guard your reputation. Watch the small protective gestures too. When you're walking through a crowded place, does he subtly guide you with his hand at your back? Does he make sure you're included in conversations? Does he check on you if you seem uncomfortable? These are reflexes. He's not thinking, let me act like I like her. He's responding from a deeper place. And here's something powerful. Notice how he reacts when you're upset and you're not directly asking for his attention. If he senses your mood shift and reaches out without you prompting him, that's emotional awareness. A man who's secretly into you is tuned in. He pays attention to your energy. He might not always say the perfect thing, but he'll try to show up. Also, look at his social behavior. Does he engage with your posts quickly? Does he remember things you shared casually online? Does he bring up something you mentioned weeks ago in passing? That's not random memory. That's someone who values information about you. Men reveal themselves in patterns. Words can be rehearsed, but patterns are consistent. If he repeatedly positions himself as your support system, your quiet protector, your steady presence, especially when there's no spotlight on him, that's not casual friendship. That's investment happening behind the scenes. Because when a man is secretly into you, he doesn't always announce it. Sometimes he shows it in the way he watches, the way he adjusts, the way he reacts when you least expect it. And if you slow down and observe, instead of listening only to what he says, you'll start to see the difference between someone who is simply being polite and someone whose heart is quietly choosing you. He invests time, protection, and attention differently, and that difference is not small. When a man is secretly into you, the way he allocates his resources shifts. And make no mistake, time, protection, and attention are a man's primary currencies. We don't spend them carelessly. If he's spending those on you in a way that stands out, that's intentional behavior. Let's start with time. A man who's just friendly will give you leftover time. A man who's into you will make time. There's a big difference. If he's tired but still calls you, if he's busy but still checks in, if he rearranges his schedule to see you, that's priority. Men protect their free time. That's when we rest, focus on hobbies, handle personal business. If you consistently get access to that space, you matter more than he's admitting. Now pay attention to how long he stays engaged. Does he rush off the phone quickly, or does he stretch conversations? Does he linger after group events just to walk you out? Does he extend small moments into longer ones? When a man likes you, he tries to maximize proximity. He'll create extra minutes just to stay connected. Protection is another powerful indicator. When a man is secretly into you, his protective instincts activate naturally. He may not label it as romantic, but he'll step in when you're overwhelmed. He'll offer advice when you're dealing with a problem. He'll show concern about your safety. Text me when you get home. Call me if you need anything. Those aren't empty phrases when they're backed by consistent action. Watch how he reacts in uncomfortable situations. If someone speaks to you disrespectfully, does his energy shift? Even if he doesn't confront it loudly, does he position himself closer? Does he check on you afterward? Protection doesn't always mean aggression. Sometimes it means quiet presence. A man who cares will want you to feel secure around him. Then there's attention. Attention is focus. In a world full of distractions where everyone is glued to their phones, if he gives you undivided attention, that's significant. Does he remember details about your day? Does he ask follow-up questions? Does he notice when you change your hairstyle or your tone? Attention to detail reveals emotional investment. Men don't deeply study women they see as temporary. If he's learning your preferences, your triggers, your dreams, that's long-term curiosity. He's building a mental file on you. He wants to understand what makes you smile and what stresses you out. That level of attentiveness goes beyond surface friendship. And here's something subtle but powerful. He may prioritize your comfort over his own. Maybe he gives you the better seat. Maybe he adjusts plans because something works better for you. Maybe he carries things for you without making it a big deal. Those small sacrifices are signals. They show you where you rank in his internal system. Investment always shows up in patterns. If he consistently gives you prime time, steady protection, and focused attention, that's not accidental. That's a man allocating value. He might still call it friendship. He might still avoid defining it, but behavior doesn't need a label to be real, because when a man invests differently in you than he does in others, It's not just kindness, it's attachment forming quietly. And the more he invests, the harder it becomes for him to pretend it's nothing. Jealousy and subtle competition reveal hidden feelings faster than words ever will. A man can act calm, he can smile, he can even tell you he's happy for you, but when he's secretly into you, something shifts the moment another man enters the picture. That shift is automatic. It's not planned, it's not rehearsed, it's instinct. See, when a man has no emotional investment, he doesn't feel threatened. You can mention another guy, talk about a date, laugh about a compliment you received, and he'll stay steady. But when he has feelings he hasn't admitted, that information hits differently. He may not explode, he may not confess, but watch the micro reactions, the slight pause, the change in tone, the sudden curiosity. He'll start asking questions that sound casual but aren't. Oh yeah, how do you know him? What does he do? Y'all close? Those questions aren't random. He's assessing competition. He's measuring himself against someone he hasn't even met. Men are competitive by nature. We size up other men automatically. And when it involves a woman we secretly care about, that instinct doubles. You might also notice he tries to subtly elevate himself around you when another guy is present. His posture changes. His voice deepens. He becomes a little more confident, a little more accomplished in the way he speaks. That's not coincidence. That's a man trying to signal value without directly saying, "Pick me." Sometimes jealousy shows up in teasing. He might joke about the guy. He might downplay him. He might say something like, "Yeah, he sounds like trouble." With a half smile, that's deflection. Humor becomes his shield because admitting insecurity would expose too much. And here's another sign: distance. Some men, when they feel jealous but don't know how to process it, pull back slightly. Not because they don't care, but because they care too much. They need a moment to recalibrate. Hearing about another man forces them to confront feelings they've been avoiding. It reminds them that if they don't step up, someone else might. Competition also shows up in effort. If he senses another man getting close to you, you may suddenly see an increase in his consistency, more texts, more invitations, more engagement. It's not random timing, it's awareness. A man who doesn't want to lose you will start positioning himself more clearly when he feels the possibility of replacement. Now let's be clear, healthy jealousy is subtle. It's protective, not controlling. If he's secretly into you, he won't try to dictate your choices, but he will feel something, and that feeling will leak out in behavior. Maybe he becomes more attentive when other men are around. Maybe he stays physically closer to you in social settings. Maybe he becomes more expressive about his own achievements. Men don't compete for women they don't value. We conserve energy. If he's internally comparing himself to another man in your life, that means you matter. That means he sees potential loss, and potential loss only hurts when there's attachment. You can also observe how quickly he responds after you mention someone else. If he circles back to it later, brings up the topic again, or casually checks for updates, that's emotional tracking. He's monitoring the situation without openly claiming you. Jealousy, when handled maturely, is simply proof of desire mixed with fear, fear of missing out, fear of not being chosen, fear of realizing he waited too long. And when a man who's been hiding behind friendship starts feeling that pressure, it forces clarity, because competition has a way of pushing a man out of his comfort zone. It challenges his silence. It makes him question whether staying safe is worth the risk of losing you altogether. A real man eventually steps up when he's ready to risk it, and that's the part a lot of women struggle to wait for. When he's secretly into you but acting friendly, there's a clock ticking inside him. You may not hear it, you may not see it, but it's there. Because feelings don't stay comfortable forever. Sooner or later, a man reaches a point where staying silent feels heavier than speaking up. See, men live in pride, but we also live in pursuit. And when desire outweighs fear, action happens. At first, he might calculate everything. He might weigh the risk of rejection. He might tell himself the friendship is enough. But if his feelings are real, they grow. And growth creates pressure. The more time he spends around you, the more attached he becomes. The more attached he becomes, the more dangerous it feels to stay passive. There's a moment when he realizes something important. If he doesn't move, someone else will. That realization changes everything. Men are competitive, but more than that, we're decisive when something truly matters. Once he sees the possibility of losing you, clarity hits. He understands that protecting his ego might cost him the opportunity. When a man is ready, you'll notice the shift. The friendly tone starts to carry intention. Compliments become more direct. Invitations become more personal. Conversations become deeper. He'll test the waters with subtle vulnerability. Maybe he'll say,